Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, that's so weird. I thought the microphone was not working, but it is. Okay, good. Check one, two, three. Yes. All right. Thank you, Connie Balmer, for being here first. And I'll say hi to everyone else as we go along. Um, Happy Monday, or what's left of Sunday. Okay. There we go. Oh, poor Will and Kate. They look so raggedy. All that hate and contempt does terrible things for your appearance. And there's Meghan and Harry looking moisturized and blessed and, dare I say, happy. Okay, let's continue here. Well, what is it? 2 weeks? We got 2 weeks, and they'll be in Australia. 2 weeks. The 2 week countdown. I don't know exactly what the itinerary is. I know that they're the 2 days or the two places that they'll be. Harry for his speaking engagement, and then Meghan for her speaking engagement. Now, it's been said that the Sussexes, um, they're, that this is not going to be like a make or break situation for them. This is purely just them going to Australia, maybe doing a favor or two for a few people. Also, they are going to promote some of their causes, but this is, from what I'm to understand, it's not a big financial windfall. This is just Harry and Meghan doing what they do. This is part of their philanthropy and humanitarian, of course, and the usual causes that they like to get involved with, health and well being and mental health, that kind of thing. So, but we'll see more when they get there. We don't know exactly what else they've added to this visit, but it's kind of like I think of Australia like when you go, make sure you get everything done that you need to do for now and in the future, and whatever you didn't do in the past, because it is a long flight. Even from Los Angeles is a long flight, so you just kind of want to make the most of it, and especially considering how popular the Sussexes are in Australia. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot of demand for their time. So, yeah, it's not like, making that trip back and forth to New York for us Americans. This is kind of a long trip. It's kind of like going to Japan. It's not exactly right there. So, if you've ever like flown from California to Japan, that's kind of a long flight. Um, just like Chicago to Sao Paulo, I'm pretty sure it was like 11 hours. But yeah, I think it was like a 777 ER, which I believe it means extended range. So yeah, that is a long flight. But usually, like from Chicago um to London or Paris, is usually about 8 hours. 8 hours, whatever it is in New York, just add like another 2 hours to it. Okay, let's get on with it. Oh, I hope that didn't scare you. I hope that didn't knock you back in your chair. Tiger Woods, this man needs an intervention. He needs an intervention. Oh, good grief. 15 hours? Really? Now, you know what? If you are lucky enough to get one of those lie flat seats, it doesn't seem so bad. It doesn't seem so bad. But wherever you travel, I'm just like, most people on the planet will never have the privilege of flying, right? And even more so, look at how many few people ever leave their country. Look at how few Americans have passports. How many Americans have passports? Let's see. They say the percentage is somewhere between 40 to 42% of Americans have passports. And out of which, while a significant portion of the population has not left the country, other data suggests 71 to 76% of US adults have visited at least one other country in their lives, which means, of course, they have probably gone to Mexico or they're probably gone to Canada. And in some cases, maybe they went to the Caribbean. But okay, that shocks me that 71 to 76% of Americans have at least visited one other country. One in four Americans have never left the country. Oh, well, while we're at it, let's do this then. How many people have never been on an airplane? Wow. Approximately 80 to 95% of the world population has never set foot on an airplane, meaning roughly 6.5 to 7.4 billion people have never been on an airplane. Why am I saying this? If you have had that privilege, do consider yourself blessed that you've had a chance to see more of this world than the average person. That is a blessing. Don't take it lightly. Okay. As a matter of fact, you guys, let's do gratitude this coming week, shall we? Let's just take time, even if it's just personal and to yourself. Every day, think about all of the stuff that you're grateful for. It is a good exercise. It really is. Because you didn't wake up one day and roll your car over like Tiger Woods. Poor Tiger Woods. He has gone from bad to worse. Tiger Woods' hair transplant, well, they say that he's attempted the hair transplant twice. And in both instances, the hair loss, well, you can see for yourself. You can see for yourself. Oh, this poor guy. This poor guy. You see there? And then he had that 2017 mugshot. And look at him today. I don't know what it is that's different about him. Um, but this is teetering on Gary Coleman. Remember Gary Coleman's mugshot? This is kind of teetering on that Gary Coleman mugshot. Heather Stroud, I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly if he did it in the same place. And his first wife, remember she went charging after him with a golf club? That would have been the mother of all ironies if he would have, lost his life to a golf club. That would have been so ironic, especially considering that it was his wife that went charging after him. You know, to think that some people don't even like to live in a house that has a firearm. Well, to think that his wife comes running down the driveway and began to, you know, attack him like that, it was bizarre. He needs an intervention. He needs an intervention. He just, you know, um, there were a few legendary sports figures who tried to, help him along years ago when he was on the Oprah Winfrey show. Now, this was before the rollover car accidents. Oprah was asking him about this very weird thing he said about his ethnicity. He said, "I am not I know he said I don't consider myself black." He says, "I consider myself Ka Asian." That's Caucasian, black, and Asian. Kabla Asian. Caucasian, black, and Asian. Kablasian. Kabla Asian. And yes, okay, you can definitely claim all this ethnicity if you like. But when you try to hail a taxi, as I have in the past, and everybody keeps passing you up, it doesn't matter whether you're Royal Sussex, it doesn't matter whether you're United States Senator Barack Obama, or whether you're Tiger Woods. All they see is a black man. And in every instance, there's an excellent chance that you will not be able to flag a taxi. The first time that happened to me where I had trouble getting a taxi, it was back in the 80s, I believe it was. And I was over in Lincoln Park in Chicago. I was in Lincoln Park near DePaul University. And I'm looking at these empty cabs on Halsted going, you know, left and right. I'm trying to wave them down. And then finally, I realized, I said, oh, I know what it is. And so I reached into my pocket and got 20 bucks and I began to wave that around. And finally, I got a taxi. Now, just so you know, most of the taxis that were passing me up were black drivers, not necessarily from the United States. I'm going to imagine most of them were not. But yeah, most of the cabs that passed me up were black, and some of them most likely of Arab descent or Pakistani descent, whatever. That pretty much makes up a lot of the cab drivers we had back in the day. And they all passed me by one after the other until I waved a $20 bill. And then finally I got a taxi. And so I asked the taxi driver about that, and he was like, well, he didn't want to just come out and say it. But I told him, I said, everybody kept passing me up. So all of that complication of what makes Tiger Wood. Yes, there's Asian. Yes, there's Caucasian. And of course, there is that African, sub Saharan African, I would imagine, um, DNA. And so at that point, you could see that his life was taking a very weird turn. I think a lot of his trouble has to do with his self identity, maybe self esteem. I don't know. I can't, sit here and diagnose what he is. I don't have the credentials, number one, and number two, it really ain't my business. But it's just really sad. This is the kid that was on the Mike Douglas show years ago. He was on television. This shy little kid, maybe what was he, 4 or 5 years old, and he was doing a demonstration of how young he was, and he was this golf prodigy. And all these years later, it just remember when he was unbeatable on the golf course? He was unbeatable. And it seems like, and I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but there were some people who did not like him encroaching upon that world. You know what I mean? And it seemed like somebody then put the hex on him or something, and he just has gone from bad to worse. He has just gone from bad to worse. It really does seem like somebody has put the heebie-jeebies on him, the evil eye or something. Yeah, I heard that there may be some type of chemical dependency, allegedly, and that he's had so many, you know, surgeries and such, and that he may have developed problems from there. But even before those injuries, Tiger Woods' life had taken a downward spiral. He had that absolutely gorgeous wife that he married. And because he doesn't seem to like to identify with his, African roots, he went and found someone who was very opposite of himself to marry. And he allegedly began to step out on her almost immediately. And there's a saying that that some of these guys, they didn't have a strong father figure in their life. Well, he did. He did. His father was absolutely wonderful. At least from what we can see looking out on the outside looking in rather. But his father was, his biggest cheerleader, the one who trained him to be Tiger Woods. So, I don't know what their relationship was like, but he wasn't missing that. And yet, this kid is a effing mess. I just don't get it. I don't get it. This kid needs an intervention bad. He has so much going for him. At least he did, but now he's just, I'm telling you, I'm going to, this is my if I had to like subscribe to a theory. If you remember when he won that big tournament, and that guy was very, very shady toward him. Um, I think the guy had mentioned things like watermelon and fried chicken. You know what I'm saying? Shady. And it seemed like since then, his life has been on a collision course to destiny. And I don't know what they did to him or who got to him, but I don't think this was just by chance. I think it was by design that he has been toyed with in some way. I'll say that. Oh, his father had some character flaws. Oh, okay. Well, maybe that was it. Maybe that was it. But whatever the case may be, this guy is is really I just I cannot understand how he got here. I really can't. And then they say that the Secret Service has told him that he will no longer be able to drive the occupant of the White House grandchildren around. That he will no longer be able to drive the occupant of the White House's grandchildren around. That he's been dating one of the members of that clan. I'm sorry, that family. I don't know why I say a clan. Um, and the Secret Service says no more, no more. So whatever it is, Tiger Woods, get your behind into some kind of rehab. Um, Also, there were people who could not help but notice you know how they say the walk of shame? How about the drive of shame? Well, move over, um, Andrew, because there is a new passenger for the drive of shame. There was a new passenger for the drive of shame. Oh my goodness, look at there. Remember that commercial? Move over, bacon. Here comes sizzling. Well, move over, Andrew, because here comes Tiger Woods. Yep. The drive of shame. Uh, uh, uh. They can't let them seats back far enough, can they? Oh, man. I don't know who put this together. It wasn't me. This has been making the rounds on the social media. So I will not take credit for someone else's work, but I think it is absolutely hilarious. Who did this? Who did this? Kim Peaches, I don't have words. I don't have words. Do you remember when I believe it was Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley, they tried to talk to him, if I recall, this was a long time ago, but after that appearance on Oprah Winfrey show, you could see that there was a real lack of maturity. There was a very big lack of maturity. That he did not seem to know himself, that he was not grounded. And it seems like from that point moving forward, it has gone from bad to worse. Ooh, ooh. Well, there's a lot of people that um, were in the rich privilege club, so I'm not going to assume that he's done anything, shady. But there's a lot of people, um, comedians, actors, politicians that were pulled into that world, and I'm going to assume the vast majority of them are innocent. But whether that includes him, I really don't know. But we'll find out. This lady right here has gone viral. She has gone viral. Now, this Nate Friedman, he is a shady character. Nate Friedman is a little right wing gentleman. And if you are a Republican, if you are conservative and on the right wing, um, if that is, your tribe, let me just say this. There's room for all of us in this world. Also, go to hell. I am just as left and liberal as they come. So if you do subscribe to the occupant or any of that other kind of stuff, if those are your politics, go to hell. You're on the wrong channel. Okay. Now, I am going to play a little soundbite from this lady. Let me set it up for you. You can see right there in the caption it says black people, right? What could it possibly go wrong? Well, this is the No Kings March, um, which took place this weekend, which is another reason why Charles Philip Arthur George Mountbatten-Windsor should not come to the United States, even if the president and occupant in chief ask you to. You probably should stay home because it is not a good time to be a monarch. I'll just say that. Okay. So, anyway, this lady is the GOAT. She is legendary. Um, and people have so much affection for her. Listen to what she says.
It seems like there's a lack of diversity here today. That it's mostly people who look like you and I. And I just
It is not for black people, for people of color to get out on the street. They're at risk when they do that. If anybody's going to get arrested here, it's going to be a black person. It is not safe for them, and they don't need to participate. We need to walk in their name.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. Okay. What do you think about voter ID? Do you think it's racist?
It's 100% a tactic to control the population and prevent people from voting, so that the only votes so that the gerrymandering can work, so that white voters can vote in white Christian males.
Have you been voting blue most of your life?
I voted blue in the womb.
Ah, wonderful.
Yeah.
If you had to vote for a Republican, J.D. Vance or Rubio, which one would you pick if you had to?
Yeah. I would slit my throat.
Ooh. Yeah. Really?
First of all, let's do this. She just said it. She said, this is not for black people, that we need to march in their name, because when it comes to the law, when it comes to the police, the whole criminal justice system is stacked up against people of color. And if you are an African American, in particular, an African American seems to get very little justice. What you get is the assumption of guilt. It starts at the point in which you're apprehended, and it continues until you are released from either a jail or a prison, whichever it is. You'd be lucky if you can get in front of a judge and go home that day. Very lucky. And it has been that way for a very long time. So this lady is speaking the truth, that is something that happens. You can have a very few black people in a very large crowd, and the percentage of people that are arrested, you'll notice that it is usually more black people, or, per capita, you'll find that they always seem to find the black person in the crowd and arrest them. And that's just the way it is. And the black person, on so many occasions, they'll be the first ones arrested and the last to go home. They will be the last to go home. So she said, this is not black people's business. It's not for you to be out here right now. And we should be marching in your name. And it's amazing how many grandmas that there are out there who have taken to the street, who have picked up signs. And in some cases, they've been doing this most of their lives, where they have always been in the struggle. But the language has changed a great deal, where they realize that even though the Black participation could be very valuable, but when it comes to, you know, being out there on the streets and marching in these protests, that maybe that's not a good idea right now, especially given the fact that the occupant of the White House has encouraged law enforcement using a bunch of dog whistles to go after particular groups of people. So, cheers to her. And I hope there are so many more just like her. But yeah, it was a big weekend for protests. There was so many thousands of people on the streets, and I don't know how many people were out in Chicago today, but I saw an image of Wacker Drive. It is a tradition in Chicago to go over to the Trump Tower, the Trump International Hotel, and whatever else they call it, and to, you know, destroy effigies, to um, throw up, the hand gestures, and of course, mooning the Trump Tower. It's been so bad sometimes that the police actually have to sit in front of the Trump Tower so that people won't trash the place. It's a condominium building, I believe, and a hotel. And it's actually a very beautiful building, and it's unfortunate it has his name on it. But you guys, most of the properties that have the Trump name, it's not really owned by the Trumps. The Trumps are selling a luxury brand, if you can believe that. And a lot of the properties are not owned by the Trump organization, but it is part of a branding deal. By them lending their name to it, they have been able to develop a lot of real estate around the world. And it's like with the Hyatt Hotel. The Hyatt Hotel chain is owned by the Pritzker family, right? But they don't own that many hotels. They actually are branding the Hyatt name and all the products that comes with the Hyatt. And so the governor of Illinois, J.D. Pritzker, his family is very rich. They're billionaires. And our governor is one of the owners of the Hyatt hotel chain, among other things. So, um, and I tell you, most people in Illinois, they're very happy with Governor Pritzker. You know, he's a native of Chicago, and there's a lot of things around the city that the Pritzkers have supported for years. So, um, I like him. I like him a lot, and he is definitely one to watch in the future when it comes to the White House. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Do the inside work or register people to vote, promoting candidates and running for Congress, donating to these candidates. Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff within the community that really needs for us as African Americans to focus more inward than going to these big protests. And of course, it is still a good idea to go if you can, but you know, you just have to understand the risk when you do something like that. But to your point, Ms. Z, voter registration within the Black community and beyond is a good idea. Okay. So anyway, thank you, Grandma. Now, Invictus Australia has announced its intentions to submit a formal bid to host the Invictus Games in Australia in 2031, marking the beginning of a coordinated effort to bring the games back down under. Um, and Zandy Sussex says a few days after Harry and Meghan's visit was announced, Invictus Australia announced it will be bidding to host the Invictus Games. This bid has the support of the full Australian government and is also another reason for the current British tantrum over Harry and Meghan's visit. Australia hosted the 2018 Invictus Games, but this will be bigger and better than the games have grown so much since then. So, um, and then there's some comments here from that article. Sports run deep in Australia's identity. It is more than competition, it is a shared language that brings people together, whether they're cheering from the sidelines, volunteering at the local club, or taking part themselves. It strengthens communities and gives us a sense of belonging. Invictus Australia patron General Sir Peter Cosgrove stated. And then further down in the article, it says over the coming 12 months, Invictus Australia aims to prepare a comprehensive bid underpinned by support from all levels of government, corporate partners, community organizations, and the broader Australian public. So, as you can see, the government seems to be on side, and I still uh, maintain that Harry and Meghan are incredibly popular in Australia, and if they were not popular, you would not see so many people in the tabloid media and on social media beating their chests and slamming their hands on the table trying to get people's attention elsewhere. They are trying to create a very negative narrative surrounding this visit so that people will either turn their backs or turn against them. That is what the haters are hoping for. And I say that neither will happen. You know, it's something about the Southern Hemisphere. Some of the best fans in the world are in Brazil. I um, have only been to Brazil one time. But one thing I do know about Brazil is that they love when people come to visit because, again, it's that long flight. And it seems like the rest of the world is so distant from, some countries in the Southern Hemisphere that they just have a greater appreciation. And I feel the same could be said for Australia that people know that it's more than a notion that if you go into Australia, you really mean to be there. It's not like, oh, I got this vacation package. You either have business there or you have this aching need to go because you've always wanted to go because you know people there. And of course, I would say the same goes for visiting New Zealand. It is that like once in a lifetime trip, that rite of passage that you have to say I've been there. You want to go. So they appreciate when people come to visit, and of course, um, when people do visit, you just don't ever forget it. You don't ever forget that. So I think it's going to be a really, really good visit, and I think it's going to be very emotional because there's going to be an outpouring of affection. And this is why the palace is so bothered by it, and especially Willie's people, because Willie should have gone by now. He should have gone a long time ago. He should have been putting a trip in the works, despite whatever is going on with his wife. They don't even have a future date, as far as I know. They don't even have a date set to visit. And then, of course, Rupert Murdoch even has said that at some point, Australia will become a republic. They said Australia will become a republic. So there's just not that same connection with the monarch that there has been in the past. So much of that has died along with Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth was too much identified with the monarchy as a whole. So it seems like when Queen Elizabeth went down into that storm cellar at the St. George Chapel, down into that little storm cellar civil defense shelter with Philip and her mama and daddy and Princess Margaret's ashes. Seemed like ever since she went down in there and they put that lid on top and, you know, called it a day, it just seems like the monarchy has lost popularity. And they are fighting hard because they cannot afford for the public to turn against Willie Windsor. They cannot afford that. That runs the risk of the entire institution collapsing. And they are running scared. They're running scared. I don't think Willie is as afraid as the courtiers. But I will say this much. Willie and Kitty have worked more since Christmas than I've ever witnessed in my life. They have worked a lot for them. For the average person, no. But for those two, they have been really committed to saving the monarchy. And that's another reason why you know that the monarchy is in trouble. Because if they were not in trouble, those two would not have been out as much as they were. They would have done the same thing they always do, just sit around and plan the next vacation. But they've actually were singing for their supper this time. And I am impressed, number one, and amazed because I didn't think they had it in them. Something has shifted, and I'm pretty sure it has to do with all of the heckling that Charles and Willie and the rest, even Princess Anne, is not immune from heckling. You can tell from that look on Princess Anne's face that she's not used to this. She's shocked by it, probably a bit hurt. But there's no place in this world um, for that family to allow Meghan to be abused the way that she has been abused, and them seemingly to sanction the abuse. They have been very abusive to Meghan, the institution, and as far as I'm concerned, most of that family. They have been very abusive. Look at her. She's so scared somebody about to heckle her. She thought she saw a yellow and black sign. uh, she thought she saw Graham Smith. She thought she saw Graham Smith, right? Poor Anne. Po Anne. Prince Harry would love family time with King when he returns to UK this summer after Charles, 4 years apart from Archie, Lily, and Meghan, on Harry's wish list, an invite to Sandringham with security. This is Roya Nika. She is a mouthpiece for the monarchy. She's another one of those hired mouthpieces. This is a whole lot of assuming. This is a whole lot of assuming. This is a whole lot of, oh, somebody on the inside, someone close to the royal family. We don't even know that Harry is planning to bring the children later this summer. That has not been announced. There's just not enough information out there. And then, of course, if and when something leaks, the first thing that they're going to do is blame Montecito. So if this is true, then that means that somebody is leaking within the palace. And of course, if they leaked about this at this point, then that means later on, when the real leak comes out, then they'll say, "Oh, no, that was Harry and Meghan's people. They did that on purpose." Yeah, they did that on purpose. That's why we don't like to do anything with them now, is because they always leak everything. They refuse to accept the constant leaking and briefing coming from that side of the family. There's a wild story breaking in London, Sunday Times tonight, reported by their royal editor, Roya Nika, which we'll be covering in much more detail in tomorrow's morning's. Did that get cut off? Tomorrow morning, what is re? I think I cut one of the letters off there. Anyway, the top line is simple. Prince Harry wants an invitation to Sandringham this summer so he can bring Meghan and the children to visit the king. Would Harry really want to go to Sandringham with the kids? Isn't that the place where the Sandringham summit took place? Why Sandringham? Isn't that very specific? And at what point on the calendar does the monarch usually go to Sandringham? Because I thought Sandringham was mostly Christmas. Right? At a certain point, the family goes up to Balmoral. It just would have been, I don't know. It seemed like it would have made sense for it to have been Balmoral and not Sandringham. I don't know why that bothers me. It just doesn't sound right. Harry is still waiting for a decision on whether his UK police protection will be reinstated. He has repeatedly said he does not feel it is safe to bring his family back without armed protection, which was removed after he stepped back from royal duties in 2020. Let me see. So a friend of Harry's tells the Sunday, a friend of Harry's tells the Sunday Times, if he was invited by the king, he would get a package of security that automatically kicks in. He'd like to invite, he'd like an invite to Sandringham. Would he go? Well, if he wanted to get invited to Sandringham, of course he would go, if that was true. It would depend on who's there. If the king was to say, come up and spend some time with the family, he'd love that. But then the source adds, there is not a world in which he brings the kids back unless there is an enhanced security package around them. Well, yeah. I don't believe this. I really don't. I think it's a bunch of nonsense. Harry accused of horrifying attempt to use kids as emotional blackmail, dying King Charles. An attempt to use kids to emotionally blackmail dying King Charles. Now, that's Tom Sykes, right? Tom Sykes, let me dissect this really fast. Tom Sykes cannot wait for William to get on the throne. Tom Sykes has been speaking against Charles for a very long time. And we get it. You don't like Charles. You want William on the throne. He's the one who says that William is king in all but name only. That William is running the show. And that William, that he believes, if I'm correct, I believe that he mentioned that Charles should step down, or that there's been pressure for him to step down, and that William should take over. And I don't know whether Tom Sykes is having communication with Kensington Palace or not, but he seems to be very invested in William's accession to the throne. And I am morbidly curious, why is that so important to him? Huh. And I can see he seems to be bothered by this idea that Harry wants to come to Sandringham. Why Sandringham, though? Why Sandringham? I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this one. I mean, let's think about it. If the kids are to come, if Meghan is to visit, they got to stay someplace. And of course, depending on where they're visiting, it needs to be in a good central location. So I believe it would make sense. This much I believe would make sense, that they would probably stay at a royal residence. Or we don't know how things are with Charles Spencer, but maybe there will be an invitation at the Spencer house. I don't know. That is something to think about, is where would they stay? I mean, they had a home, but it was taken away from them. Now, if you look at some of these old headlines, King Charles is not content with seeing Archie and Lily over video calls and is keener than ever to build a relationship with Harry and Meghan's children. I don't believe that one, so you can just cross that one out. Charles aides fear Harry and Meghan will overshadow Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Okay, that was in April of 2022. Okay, I believe that one. Charles is not content with Archie. Okay, same thing. Charles is desperate to see grandchildren Archie and Lily, but I just don't believe that. I don't think Charles cares one way or the other whether or not he sees those grandkids. I believe the only purpose to see the grandkids would be a way to reform his reputation, to give him a better public profile, because he does not spend time with Willie's kids. And if he's not spending time with Willie's kids, why on earth would he spend time with the Sussexes' kids? That doesn't make sense. He doesn't care for Willie's kids. I'm trying to think, aside from public engagements, when is there any interaction with Willie's kids? Let's think about Balmoral and Christmas. Those are two occasions, right? That we know that the whole clan family is together. But aside from that, it's not a typical grandparent grandchildren relationship. So I don't believe it. I do not believe it. So row over Harry invite. This is what they're going to be talking about all week. Is Harry's demanding to visit. Harry demands to stay at Sandringham. That is what the soundbite is going. Oh, yeah, I guess soundbite. That is what is going to be said all week. That's the talking point. Is that Harry is demanding that his father put them up at Sandringham and demanding that his father gives them more security. Although, you know, let's just say for the sake of argument that it's true that Harry wants an invite. There would be an assumption of more security if the king invites them. But without that invitation, then it seems like they would be a little less enthusiastic to see to it that they get the best possible security. So that makes sense. That right there would make sense, I think, on most occasions, that with that invitation, one would assume that they would do a more elaborate security thing, because wherever they travel, if the kids are with them and they have to travel with the kids, they're not going to get access to the helicopter. They will be taking those kids, and I'm serious when I say this, they will be taking those kids on the train, because Harry and Meghan took the train when they were visiting. And if not that, then they will probably use a van like they used when they went to visit the Queen, right? So when they went to visit the Queen at Windsor Castle, they did so with that brown van that picked them up from the airport. I don't think they would fly from place to place. So there may be some truth to it. I'm just saying, maybe. Yeah, well, that's a whole nother thing. Could you trust them? Could you trust them? Harry and Meghan will be invited to Balmoral. I bet on it, William and King Charles will make a big deal just to save face. Charles is going to have a bad year if he doesn't straighten this out. Um, wherever they're invited to, if they're invited to Sandringham, Willie and Kitty have Admiral Hall, so they will not stay at Sandringham House. If they're invited to Balmoral, William and Kitty, they have their own place up there. They have another house at the Balmoral estate. So they would not likely have any FaceTime with the Sussexes at all. And also, Willie does not go to those. When was the last time that William has ever gone to those Highland games? I know that Queen Elizabeth wouldn't miss them. Also, Charles and Godzilla, they go every year. But I don't think that's something that Willie and Kitty has ever done as long as I've been, paying attention to them. And the Highland Games, if anybody doesn't know what that is, of course, the games that they have every year in Scotland where they, whatever sports they are, like throwing the pole and other stuff. And of course, they're wearing their kilts and everything. I would think that Harry would much more appreciate a visit there than Sandringham because Scotland is just cool anyway. So that's my guess. Um, if you're asking about has Harry ever gone, I don't know. I don't recall ever seeing anybody but the Queen, Philip, Charles, and Godzilla. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to be as objective as possible and say that it would make sense, especially if there's no agreement on royal protection for Harry and Meghan's visit. If they bring the whole family, right? If the invitation comes from Charles, then there would be more likely that the security will be enhanced. It'll be just like if the president invites, let's say, the Pope, if the president invites any dignitary or government official, the Secret Service usually provides protection. They ride around in the Secret Service vehicles, usually an SUV. Just like when Queen Elizabeth went to a state dinner, I believe that they used the Secret Service SUVs or the limousines before that to transport. Now, of course, Harry is not considered a government official, but he is the son of a sovereign, which they don't seem to really care about that. But that's what he is. Anne goes, but not Willie. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, thank you. Huh. All right. So Harry and Meghan are coming to the UK for Lilibeth's. Oh yeah, look at that. So that's 2021. This did not age very well, did it? Harry and Meghan are coming to the UK for Lilibeth's christening, and they are going to be fireworks. Now that was in the Independent. I don't know this writer. So before we believe that anything else is true, just think about this article, because when they wrote this article, they were very sure that using an educated guess, knowing that Harry and Meghan would want Lilibet to have a proper christening service, but I don't think anybody expected that the christening would take place in California and not in the UK. So I believe there was an Anglican um, archbishop, right? Because, of course, the Anglican Church is the Church of England in America, right? So it was a proper christening. It just did not happen the way that they thought it would. So think about that. Think about that before we assume that any of this is true, because they were very certain that that's exactly what was going to happen with the Lilibet's christening, and it turned out they went a completely different direction. Yep. So as they say, now put that in your pipe and smoke it. Huh. Okay. Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, referred to their children's royal titles for the first time while confirming the news of their daughter's recent christening, where at? In California. So Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet did not receive the titles when they were born because they were great grandchildren of the monarch. So there you go. California. You guys, JP Canobo rather, very much in the spirit of, let's say, Feminegra. This is a lesser known but still great writer who definitely has been very supportive to the Sussexes. So I'm going to share the link. Please do sign up for this newsletter. It is free, but please do sign up for it. I follow JP. I've even purchased one of their books. They I forgot which book I have, but I think it's the one with Harry on the cover. But they also have books. But please do support this person's work, because they have been doing the Lord's work for a while, and we definitely want to be supportive to them. Also, if you're so inclined, there is another way you can support with the let me see, support JP. Yeah, I guess it's buy me a coffee. Excuse me. I guess it's buy me a coffee, but that's another way that you can support with $10, $25, $50. It's up to you to decide, but you can do a monthly support or a one-time only. And because I have enjoyed their work, I've actually made a donation myself. So I'm not just saying that. I've actually donated myself, and I do that with anything social media, whatever information. even if it's $5, $10. When I have gone to YouTube and I've needed some information that I couldn't seem to get anyplace else, I will at least drop a 5. You know what I'm saying? Because the person that took their time out to do that and has been helpful to me, I feel like I want to give something back. So I do that. And I remember the one time it was a guy who does like technical stuff with computers. He said all these years, that was the only time that he had ever received a what do you call it? Oh, is it? Let me see. Okay, there's the super chat. Okay, I guess it was a super sticker, but it was in the comments, not the chat, live chat. But anyway, he said that's the only time that he had ever gotten anything was that one time. And I'm just like, this guy has put all this information out there, and God knows how many people that he helped. I mean, at least $5. You know what I'm saying? That's the least that people could do. So if you find something has been very helpful on the internet, it doesn't hurt, because a lot of these content creators, they're not even making anything, and yet they are providing a public service. So I like to support people whenever I can. So yeah, that's one of the resources that I use. And I don't know, they don't have their photo or anything like that here, but they have done some amazing work. You can even go back and look at some of the other articles. Like this one, it says, friends, let's all spare a quiet, reflective moment for Britain's tabloids. They are suffering deeply, bravely, not very quietly, because Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, keep committing the gravest sin imaginable in the British media ecosystem, telling the truth. See there? Great writing. Great writing. I love this. The Sussexes know full well that the tabloids run on a delicate diet of speculation, invented outrage, and the occasional royal expert who's so impartial they count the king's squeeze, Camilla, as a bestie. Well, we know who those people are. And yet, despite this, they continue to speak openly and honestly, as if the whole "they are traitors for telling the truth" smear campaign hadn't happened. The latest tragedy unfolded when a petition began circulating in Australia objecting to taxpayer funding the Sussexes' upcoming visit. The British tabloids naturally were thrilled at a chance to use the word fury before breakfast and published it heavily in the UK. I need water. Excuse me. But then the Sussex's spokesperson stepped forward with a statement so calm, so reasonable, and so politely devastating that you could hear the fail Meghan headline generator sputter. The trip is privately funding, they explained, and the petition was a moot point. Plus, the petition's logic was absurd. They even offered a cheeky hypothetical: if 2.6 million Australians didn't sign the petition, does it mean they all support taxpayer funding? Of course not. It's a silly thing, but please stop. So there you go. Like I said, try to throw your support behind this person whenever you can. It doesn't cost you anything to sign up. That's the least you can do, is to just sign up for the newsletter. They don't overwhelm you with a bunch of spam and stuff like that. I promise you, I've never received that from this person. Just the occasional, thing like this. So it would be nice if you could throw your support there. All right. Keynote conversation. Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, and this Joe Jones at the IAPP Global Summit in Washington, D.C. Prince Harry will take part in a keynote conversation with Joe Jones. And I believe that's Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's Tuesday. So we got this coming up the day tomorrow, actually, for some of us. I believe it's after midnight everywhere. Yeah, so tomorrow. We'll see this tomorrow. Going to be fun. God, please do not let there be any type of connection. Please do not let the tabloid media bring up Harry's name in front of the Orange Menace. Yeah. And of course, keep Harry safe. But yeah, I just hope that, because you know how they love to do that. That would be a perfect distraction from everything else that's going on, is to bring up the fact that Harry's in town. So I hope that does not happen. Yes, they don't like light-skinned Harry. They wanted Harry pale and stale. They don't want light-skinned Harry. Moisturized, well-fed, healthy. They don't want that. Let's see. Austria plans to ban social media use for under 14. Today is a good day for children in our country. The Vice Chancellor, Andreas Babler, said at a news conference, in the future, we will protect children and young people with determination against the negative effect of social media platforms. So I believe that that court case, oh gosh, what state was that in? Was that in Arizona, Colorado, something like that? Anyway, that court case that the parents won the other day seems to have spurred a great deal of international debate, and other countries are going to enact certain laws or rules or something to make sure that their kids are not negatively affected by some of the material on social media. So that's a good thing. And it is all due in part to the Parents Network and all the other concerned people out there, including our Sussexes. Please, sir, may I have another? Please, sir, may I have another? Remember that? King Charles marked his 76th birthday with food distribution. Now, of course, they won't say the word food bank. They will say a food depot, but they won't say food bank, because the government does not want to acknowledge how many hungry children, how many people are insecure when it comes to their, food, their groceries. A lot of people are very insecure. And now they say that in the UK, there are more food banks than there are McDonald's. I repeat, there are more food banks than there are McDonald's in the United Kingdom. How many food banks are in the United Kingdom? There are 2,800 food banks and emergency food suppliers in the United Kingdom as of 2024, including over 1,700 Trussell Trust locations and over 1,172 independent food banks. These services, which often outnumber McDonald's restaurants, have seen a massive rise in demand due to the cost of living crisis. You know what? I think the only way to mitigate this problem is to have another state dinner. Really. Have another, I'm being sarcastic, of course. The only way to deal with this is to have a state dinner. Also, another way to deal with this is to make sure that Will and Kate take as many vacations as possible. That is equally important. Again, I'm being sarcastic. See there? More than 13 million living in poverty, new figures show. The BBC says the new government figures show that a slight increase in the number of people living in relative poverty in the UK, with 13.4 million people, including 4 million children affected. The government is taking action to address poverty, including throwing state dinners. I'm just kidding. Including removing the two-child benefit limit from April 2026. However, some critics argue that the focus should be on promoting work as a sustainable route out of poverty. I don't think anybody would have ever thought of that. To get out of poverty, one must find work. That is earth-shattering. I mean, I've never heard that before. Do you mean to tell me that the best way to get out of poverty is to find work? Who thought of that? Please, somebody alert the people at the Nobel Peace Prize that someone has come up with a genius plan to end hunger and homelessness. All they have to do is get a job. Even though there are people in California that live in their vehicles, they have jobs and they can't afford a place to live. There are homeless people all over the United States. I need to get the word out there that if they would only get a job, they can end their homelessness. They can move into their cars just like a lot of people have. They can live out of their cars. I got to get this information out there. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but yeah, they just need to find some work. You guys, I believe that this is a first. Royal Sussex, that means all of us, we have just solved the problem of hunger and homelessness. We got to tell these people to get a job. Yes, a matter of fact, we'll name it the UK plan. To end hunger and homelessness, just get a job. Okay, I live in the state of Illinois, right? The S is silent, Illinois. Not Illinois, it's Illinois. The S is silent. Let me see. Illinois minimum wage. As of January 1st, 2025, the Illinois minimum wage is $15 per hour for employees ages 18 and over. Huh. Okay. What is the minimum wage in Iowa? As of March 2026, the minimum wage in Iowa is $7.25 per hour. This rate has remained unchanged since 2008 and aligns with the federal minimum wage. While some countries, such as counties, that is, such as Johnson County, has recommended a higher minimum wage, $13.37. These are not enforceable under current Iowa law. So if I just cross the border into Iowa, they can pay me as low as $7.25 per hour. By the way, that's a red state. Compared to Illinois, where it's $15.50, I said. So I'm going to have to tell the people in Iowa that if they get another job, that if they get another job on top of the job that they have already, that, let me see, 737 plus 737, what is that? You guys, we have just solved poverty for the state of Iowa. That's $14.71. Now, on their way to work, they might find another 75 cents or $1 on the ground every hour. And that will bring them right up to where Illinois is. We may all get the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, you guys, what could I say? Another episode of Royal Sussex, another global issue solved. We have just ended hunger and homelessness for the citizens of the United States and the United Kingdom. I think tomorrow we should work on Canada and Mexico. We got to spread the word that if you only get a job or two or three, you can break that chain of hunger and homelessness. Even Prince William couldn't have done this. I am in awe of what we've been able to do. Just us here right now. And it's all because of this article from the BBC. Had we not seen this, do you know how many people would go to bed hungry tomorrow night? But thanks to this article and our ingenuity, our persistence, hunger and homelessness is a thing of the past. Okay, let's do this one. Queen Elizabeth was worried about Prince William's behavior as a child. How the Queen worried William was out of control. Now, the Sussex Soldier says there's something off with William. He's not okay. Playing blind to protect him when he was wrong or has done something bad has only made things worse. William needs to get mental health help. Oh, you know what? That is out of order, isn't it? Oh, yeah. So the reason why I shared that is because either that is true or this is true. Maybe both of them are supposed to be the truth. The late Queen warned Harry not to rush into marrying Meghan. I'm telling you, since the Queen died, she has said more in death than she ever said in life. When she was alive, we didn't know that she thought William was crazy. And when she was alive, we didn't know that the Queen had second thoughts about Meghan. Oh, wait, I take that back. I think they did start that before she died. But either way, this is the new campaign. This is what they've done over the weekend. They resurrected something from Hugo Vickers saying that the late Queen warned Harry not to rush into things. And on the tabloid talk shows and stuff, that has been interpreted as the Queen not really trusting Meghan. That's what they turned it into. It went from the Queen warned Harry to the Queen thought that Meghan was up to no good. If the Queen is such a good judge of character, did the Queen see this coming? Did she see this coming? Did she warn Philip? Did she warn Philip, the Countess who became Prince Philip's closest confidant, how Penny Natchbull befriended the Duke of Edinburgh and leaned on him after tragedy struck as the Crown films intimate scenes between the pair based on unproven rumors of an affair? Notice the language, unproven. And this was what, October 10th, right? So that was after the Queen died. The Queen is dead and they're still protecting her. Fine. But this is how they treated Philip's unusual friendship, was to just claim that they leaned upon each other after tragedy. Now, were they leaning standing up or laying down or what? Were they leaning when Philip was demonstrating how to use a stick shift? Huh? Were they leaning? Were they leaning on each other when Philip showed Penny Natchbull, "Here, love, this is how you use a stick shift"? Was that leaning too? Did the Queen see that coming? Did the Queen warn Philip? Did anybody warn the Queen? Now, they say that before they got married, that people had issues with Philip, the penniless prince, they called him, right? Nobody liked Philip. They thought he wasn't good enough for her. However, the Queen ignored everybody and married Philip anyway. So doesn't it just make sense, giving that precedence, that Harry would ignore everybody, just like the Queen ignored the Queen Mother, right? And marry the woman he loves. And 8 years after their relationship started, they're still together. Oh, no, it's almost been 10 years, right? They met in 2016. Yeah, almost 10 years since they met. They're still together. 8 years after marriage, 10 years after meeting. They're still together. So I ask, what difference does it make what the Queen thought? And of course, they don't limit this to what the Queen thought. They also throw in there what Willie thought. William said, "Don't you think that you're moving too fast?" You know, this picture right here. This picture right here. Do you think they had takeaway or carry out? We could say carry out. And in the UK, they call it takeaway. Do you think they had some takeaway? Like maybe a sausage roll? I'm just asking for a friend. I don't know if you guys have ever had one of those sausage rolls, but it's a light, flaky pastry that has a sausage baked into it. Maybe they went to Portillo's. Maybe she's looking at a map. I tell you one thing. Maybe this is why Philip loses control of the vehicle from time to time. I'm just saying. Maybe this is why he can't concentrate on his driving. Because oh, I love Denise Welch. Penny Natch Bull and I don't care. Penny Natch Bull and I don't care. Penny Natch Bull and I don't care. Because Philip is teaching her how to drive a stick shift. Well, let me tell you, sometimes they invite people on the show, right? They invite people on the show, and the conversation doesn't necessarily go in the direction that they've planned, right? And I'll give you a great case in point. Okay.
Believe it's going to come, and don't forget he wants the invitation to come, Anne, with a condition, and that condition is that it's linked to his security, which is under review at the moment, and which we are being now told that the Home Office is reluctant to grant it because of the backlash, the public backlash it would cause. I'm still of the view that Meghan's never going to come back to this country in any case, security or not. So we'll have to wait and see. But you're absolutely right, Stephen, about Hugo Vickers. He's very well informed. He is a top man when it comes to royal reporting, and he's written a number of books. It comes as no surprise that we've got the revelation that the Queen wanted Harry to wait a little before the marriage. And it just goes to show that there was concern, at the time of how quickly this was going and whether Harry was doing the right thing or not, or should wait to get to know her a bit well. And Anne's just pointed out that William too was the one who said, are you sure about this? And that was the trigger that led to the fallout, this terrible fallout between the brothers.
Yeah, well, I mean, but in that respect, I know it's different because they're royals, but if you paired it back to your own life, that is going to, if you've got a brother and a grandma saying, hang on a little bit, he's going to be annoyed about that. And actually, if he tells her about it, she's going to feel not wanted by the family.
You're absolutely right, and I suspect as well that the Queen and William saying to him, should you hang on a little bit? It was probably the impetus for him to get married. I mean, I met my wife quite, at work, and we knew each other for a very, very short time, 3 months, and we got married, I think, about four months later.
Wow.
We've been together 55 years. So, there wasn't anybody around saying, don't get married or anything. But if someone had said, are you sure she's the right one? I don't think I'd have paid too much attention to them.
No, you don't when you're young and you're in love, and nobody could blame him for that. The trouble was, you wonder what it is that the rest of the family were worried about, that he couldn't see. You wonder whether there was anything in her behaviour or in remarks she made or anything like that that really sent up a red flag to them.
Yeah, there must have been, certainly with William and obviously now the Queen. Now, let's not forget as well that when she came over here, and they went out and did their public duties, they were feted everywhere they went. Everybody loved the fact that they were there. She was young. The fact that she was from mixed race didn't really nobody cared. It was just the future. That was going to be the future of the monarchy. We had all this promise of the Fab Four getting together, and now all that's gone, haywire. It's never going to happen again. They're never going to come back into the royal family. In my view.
Isn't that something? He's been married to his wife for over 50 years. And he said that if anybody in his family had told him, don't you think you're moving too fast, getting married after 3 months? And of course, his answer was no. He would not have accepted that. He would not have listened to that. He married his wife, and they're still together. When you know, you know. When you know, you know. And the mental gymnastics necessary to make Harry confused and dim-witted in comparison to William, who, after 10 years of uncertainty, decided to marry her, it is obvious who was in love and who made a terrible mistake. We are supposed to believe body language because the tabloid media tell us we should. They cram body language experts down our throats. However, we should doubt what our eyes very clearly can see, that William and Kate are incredibly unhappy with each other. They are bitter, unhappy people. And the only thing that they can agree on is their contempt for most other people in the world. They're shady, cruel, mean-spirited people. Kate doesn't have any real girlfriends. And of course, William doesn't have any male friends. He has those bearded people around him that he's so fascinated with. The one time we saw William interacting with what was supposed to be friends, remember he said that thing about the pizza delivery guy being tackled and how funny that would be? Did you notice that those people in the room seemed to tolerate him because he's William? They weren't there for his personality. They were there because he's going to be king. That's it. He doesn't have any real friends. Kate doesn't have any real friends. All they have is their mutual bitterness. And they have people that tolerate them because of their positions. So I'm going to say that there's a lot of jealousy and envy from William, and it always has been. Also, amongst other members of the family, Meghan is yet another person who has come through the door and has become the most popular member of the family, just like Diana did. Come in there like a force of nature and has become the most popular member of the family. And even though they managed to get those emotional support polls that declares that Meghan is so unpopular, unloved, nobody cares about her, that's not true. And popularity in terms of people liking you or loving you, that's one thing. But popular because of namesake, because your name is being thrown about by people that love you and hate you all at the same time, then I would say Meghan is surely the winner. She's the most Googled. They always try to find some reason why she's responsible for everything. Now, there's one way to stop that, and that's just stop talking about her. But they won't do that. Just like he was saying that the public, they're afraid to give security because of the public backlash. If you weren't talking about it for 24 hours a day, every day, the public wouldn't know the difference. The public is only reacting to what we are deeming newsworthy. And if they deem that it's newsworthy, if they tell the public that there's going to be backlash because Harry and Meghan are going to be given the top level of security, then of course there's going to be backlash. You're going to find somebody who thinks it's a bad idea. You'll find someone who thinks it's wrong. But I'm pretty sure that someone wouldn't know the difference if the tabloids didn't tell them, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be angry? And this is exactly what they're doing, playing in the plain light of day. They're trying to whip up hostility for the Sussex's visit to Australia. It's unfortunate that they get a head start. It's unfortunate that it was announced in advance, because we wouldn't even be hearing half of the nonsense. But this gives them a chance to do what they do best. The tabloid is going to create a fever pitch of hostility. They're going to have like a beehive of discontent before they get there. But by the time they start moving around, believe me, it is going to dissipate. It is going to be a big fat nothing burger. But they got to do what they can do while they got time to do it, because not only does it give them hope that the Sussexes will fail, but it also sells a hell of a lot of newspapers and clicks and engagement. So they are going to shoot their best shot. And I believe that when the Sussexes get there, we'll almost forget about everything that was said beforehand, and they'll get on to doing their business. So that's what I believe. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for tonight. But before I do that, BBC to dismantle crown jewel of live British broadcasting. The team at BBC Studios Events, which covers royal and state broadcasts, will be cut to one person, leaving the corporation reliant on freelancers. There is going to be only one paid reporter, one paid journalist for the BBC to cover the royal family, and everything else is going to be freelance work. They don't have to pay union scale or union this, union that. Unnecessary now. They don't have to provide benefits because they're freelancers. No need for benefit packages. Everything is going to be freelance. So from henceforth, the royal family only has one designated journalist for a news organization, which is considered one of the most trusted voices in the world, the BBC. They only have one journalist to cover the royal family's state events, and anything else will be freelance workers. Those will be people that will sit on the sofa like they did on Coronation Day and remind people that that is a very white balcony, isn't it? Compared to the multicultural crowd inside of the Westminster Abbey. I believe that's what they mean by freelance. So this is yet another thing that shows that the prestige of the royal family is in decline. They are in decline. Their prestige is tanking. They are just not so important anymore. No serious invitations to William and Kate for any type of visit. None. Not many are asking Charles III for a state visit. Might as well say none. Because they will lose money and they will also anger the population. While they're telling us how upset people are going to be because of Harry and Meghan showing up, I think the people that they really are bothered by is the left behind royals. They don't worry about Princess Anne because by the time you hear Anne was there, she's already back home. They don't worry about Sophie Wessex. They're not even sure which royal family she belongs to. And of course, Edward, they're just fascinated because they didn't know the Queen had a fourth child. They are cooked. They are cooked. And there is not very much chance that things are going to get better. When William takes that throne, it is going to go from bad to worse. People warned voters, do not vote for the Orange Menace. Do not vote for him. He is temperamentally unsuitable for the role. And he's proven that every day. Now, those same kind of voices are saying William is going to be terrible as king. Listen to them because they know. Liz Jones, Amanda Platel, A.N. Wilson, even Jeannie Bond. They dance around it, but they're still saying that William is going to be a horrible king. They said the same thing about Charles. The only thing is Charles did not mess up in the way that we thought he would. We thought he was going to be big mouthing about the architecture and trying to influence people in Parliament and such. It hasn't been as much of that made public. But what he has messed up was with his brother. A lot of things that have gone wrong has gone wrong before he even became king. Just like with the Duchy of Cornwall, the Duchy of Lancaster, Charles has been raking in the dough and charging public services in the name of the crown, have been paying a fortune for their use of duchy property. And people are thinking, with things as stretched as they are now, with so much debt to these local councils and counties and such, how dare you charge them money just to park an ambulance? That money could go someplace else, but instead they're going to the duchies, and the public does not like it. So Charles is still an unpopular king, as people predicted he would be. And now people are making that same prediction about William. And we'll find out. We'll find out. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure as per usual. Thank you for trusting me to do this work. That went a lot longer than I expected. But I will see you all next time. All right. Love you guys. Cheers.